Hey everybody, it's Judy Klock, your Independent Stampin' Up demonstrator here in Middletown, Virginia. And I'm coming to you tonight with another 3-card tutorial. And tonight we are going to be using the beautiful Impressions Abloom set. I first saw this when I went to Onstage, and when you could sign up ahead of time for like the creativity after hours event. It was between this and the turtle ones. And I thought, oh, I have enough flowers. I'm not going to get it. I got the turtles. Well, of course, once I saw all the beautiful cards that were being made with this set, I had to get it. So I did. And this is the set that I will be featuring in my optional class at Stampapalooza this September. So registration is going fast. We're about 1/3 of the way filled up, and we just opened it 2 days ago. So it's going fast. So if you want to come to Stampalooza, register soon. All right, so tonight we're going to do 3 cards. The first card is really a very simple stamping card. We're just going to use some of that beautiful Impressions Abloom designer series paper to really be the background of our card. And then they have the suite comes with these pre-punched gold foil labels. We're just going to use one of those, stamp a little sentiment on that. And that card is really done. So very quick and easy. The next one we're going to do, again, is fairly simple. We've just got a little skinny strip of that DSP, and we're keeping it simple with just 3 little diamonds or whatever, squares on the diagonal. And we're just going to keep it simple with that. So just really 2 colors, the pink, pretty in pink, and the old olive. And then, of course, just our basic white. And I guess we do have a little bit of daffodil light for the center and some strawberry slush. But those are just little accent colors. And then lastly, we're going to do a lot of 2-step stamping and some die cutting and create a very pretty birthday card. This sentiment is from the, oh my gosh, it is With You in Mind stamp set. And actually, that's the stamp set we used at our Creativity in Bloom retreat in the spring. So a very popular stamp set, really pretty sentiments in that set. All right, let's go ahead and get started. As always, I will have the measurements for all of the cards on the corresponding blog post, which will be up sometime tomorrow. But these are pretty standard measurements. So we have here, this is Pool Party. It's 8.5 by 5.5. I've scored it at 4 1/4. I have a piece of basic white here. That's 4 by 5 1/4. Then I have 3 strips of that designer series paper. They are 4 by 1 5/8. And I was trying to be very careful and made sure that I kept these together because I want to be able to match up the designs. So it looks like that's how it goes. Maybe, nope. I think it goes this way. So this is the third piece, the second piece, the first piece. And then, of course, I've got that pre-punched label that we're just going to go ahead and stamp on. So let's go ahead. I'm going to add our basic white to the inside of our card. And I may actually end up running out of adhesive. I can bring this down just a little bit. There we go. That's a little bit better for you. Okay. Let me go ahead and just stick that right inside. Again, this is 4 by 5 1/4. Pretty standard for an inside layer. Now, for these designer series paper, I'm going to lay them out first because I want to see how they're going to look. Okay, so I want to make sure that they're placed fairly evenly spaced. And I'm going to start off by putting the one in the center. I just want to make sure that I kind of know where I want them. Okay, that looks good. I'm going to kind of move these 2 out of the way for now. I'm going to grab, the reason I'm going to use liquid glue is it's going to give me a little bit of extra time to kind of wiggle this piece into place. So I'm just putting glue on my piece of, you don't need a lot, but do make sure you kind of get by the corners because you want those corners to stick down. All right, let me try to pick this up. I'm getting glue all over my hands. Okay, and that is kind of where I want that piece. All right, Gonna come over here. We're going to put this piece on. Again, I'm just going to, oh, there we go. Use a little bit of our glue. Okay, I'm just going to put like try to put a thin line. Okay, you don't need a lot, but you do want to kind of get to that those corners. Like I said, you want to make sure your corners have adhesive on them. Okay, try to, yikes, pick this up. Okay, and there we go. That looks good. And then our last piece. This one I think might be a little bit off, but that's okay. So again, just putting our adhesive on. Okay. Kind of trying to keep it a little bit of a thin line. Okay, and then that one goes over here. And I kind of screwed up that middle piece. All right. I don't think I can lift it up, can I? No, that's down there for good. All right. Just be careful when you're placing it. All right, now I'm going to stamp. I'm going to use our fresh freesia. That was one of the colors in our paper, in our designer series paper. And I'm going to stamp the word thanks. And then I'm going to stamp for everything. Oh, so very much. Sorry, so very much. So very much. And I kind of kept it more towards the top of the label because I'm going to put some pearls kind of underneath there. So I want to lay down some ribbon. This is that beautiful gold striped ribbon. It's new in the catalog. So I just want to lay down a piece like kind of there. So I'm just going to cut that. Make sure I cut it the right way. I'm going to just kind of cut them. I'm using my big scissors for this. All right. Now I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive kind of right here in the middle because our label will cover that up. And I'm just going to lay my ribbon just down across my 3 layers, just like that. And just stick it on the adhesive eventually. Eventually it'll stick. All right, got to move it over just a little bit. Okay, a little bit more. There we go. Okay. We've got that. Now I'm going to add some dimensionals, which I had a whole big pack of them here. Oh, here they are. I was cleaning up and I found this big old sheet from an old paper pumpkin. I'm like, wow, that's a lot of dimensionals. So I'm like, well, they're still good. So we're going to use them. And you might be wondering why I scribbled on them. That's to help me figure out if they still have the covers on them. So I'm just going to see if I can. Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. And it's not really working tonight. Okay, it's going to be more trouble than it's worth trying to do that. We're going to go the old-fashioned way. Okay. And then we're going to stick this right in the middle. Okay. And then the gems that come with the suite, which I left out somewhere. So you've got 3 colors. You've got the strawberry slush, the pretty in pink, and the clear. And they have little flecks of gold in them, which I think are really pretty. So we're going to take, and I'm going to take the white and the clear ones with the gold flecks, because that will definitely tie into our ribbon and our label. We've got all the gold in there. And I'm just going to kind of put them in a row, 3 in a row. Okay. And there we go. And there, that is card number 1. So easy peasy, right? Very, very simple, but between the gold rimmed label and the pretty designer series paper, then you have a very easy and a very pretty card. That's card number 1. Card number 2, we're going to start getting into a little die cutting. So we have our pretty in pink here. This is again 8.5, 4.5. I'm sorry, 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. Our basic white, 5 1/4 by 4. I have a strip of that designer series paper. It's the back of the piece we just used. This is 5.5 by 3/4. Then I've got 3 squares of old olives. These are 1 3/4 inch squares, and 3 squares of basic white that are 1.5 inches. I'm going to show you, even though I have a mistake on that, I'm still going to use that piece because I can cover it up with my die cut. And then we're going to die cut one of the littlest flowers and that center. So let's go ahead. Let's get our die cutting. I already did one because I didn't want to have to do two. But let me bring in the machine. And this I can actually do on the mini. Let me grab my mini. I was going to use the big one, but I think I'm just going to do the mini. I think the mini will be easier because we only have little tiny bits to do. All right, let's open that up. Now, when I'm working, I have this great magnetic tray. I don't know if you can see it. It keeps my dies in there. Can you see that? Great magnetic tray for keeping your dies. I just picked this up in like a Home Depot or some kind of hardware store, usually like in the tools section. And then the other little thing I have is this 3M tape, because sometimes you want it to hold these dies in place. So I'm going to take, for the little flower, we need these two dies, these two, and we're going to layer them in together. One will cut and then the other will like emboss that, the lines in it. You'll see in a minute what I mean. And then I've got a piece of I'm going to cut this because I don't need all this. I got a piece of Daffodil Delight, and these are just scrap pieces I had laying around my shop, my workshop. And of course I have a little bit of glue on my hands. So now everything is getting messed up. All right, I'm just going to put the tape there to kind of hold those. And I'm going to take, now these are two really tiny pieces. So for the center of the flower, we have that little circle. And then we've got this little tiny insert. That's going to like, I'll show you when we're done. It's going to give you like the little pokes in the flower in that center. Okay, let me just put some tape on there. Okay, let me get these set up. These are like the tiniest little piece die ever. All right, I'm gonna put that through. Come on. I'd love the mini for like these little small pieces where you don't really need that whole big machine. All right. Now let's get all that out of the way. Now we've got our flower, and you'll see, so this one cuts out the shape of the flower, and this insert adds the lines to it. Can you see the lines on it? Okay, and that's what that does. And then I just throw those back in my tray so they don't get lost on my desk while I'm working, especially look at that little tiny one. Stick that in that metal tray. And then that little tiny metal piece kind of added the little holes. Kind of hard to see, but they added the little holes in the center of that die cut piece. Okay, so we're done with that. I'm going to leave my tape over here because we'll need that again later. Get rid of that, and we can move that over here. All right, let's finish this card. So I've already got one flower. I'm going to go ahead and add the little center to our second flower. I'm going to put just a little dab of glue right in the middle. And we're just going to go ahead and stick that on. Let's move this down a little bit again. I can do it one-handed. Not get my fingers caught in there as it gets closer. All right, so now we've got our two flowers. We're going to stamp thanks on one of our squares, one of our white squares. And I'm going to use Pretty in Pink for this. And I think I just used the other color. Yep, I did. So let me quickly wipe it off. Okay. There goes my Tombow glue holder. I'm just going to go thanks. Okay, got that. All right. Now we're going to, all right, we got our stamping done. We got our die cutting done. Let's assemble our card. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add my white piece to the inside. And because this is a thank you card, excuse me, I'm going to leave the inside blank so I can write. I tend to have big writing too, big penmanship. So then this piece I'm going to add right along the front. Okay, probably about maybe 1/2 inch from that fold. There's no really right or wrong measurement. It's just when you eyeball it, what you think looks good. And I just kind of do about a 1/2 inch. I don't want it in the center, but I don't want it too close to I don't want it right on the edge. So just, give it a look and see what you think looks good to you. All right, we're just going to gently press that down. All right. Now let's go ahead and add our white squares to our granny apple green. Oh my goodness. Old olive. This one, believe it or not, has nothing on it. But just because something might have an image on it doesn't mean we can't use it. Especially, I'll show you how. Because that was the stamped image of the flower that I die cut. I just didn't like the way it's stamped with the color ink I had chosen. So we're just going to take this, and there's a way it matches exactly. And we are going to figure it out. And then we are going to put this right over that. I'm going to add a little glue to this, just to the center. Just to the center. I'm going to add a little glue to my flower. And then I am just going to cover up my little mistake. And no one will ever know. Look at that. No one will ever know that I had stamped underneath there and made a mistake. There's always a way to fix a mistake. No mistake is forever, unless you've already stuck the paper down and then you stamp on it, and then it might be forever. Okay, gonna stick that one there. All right, now we're ready to, and these are gonna go on the front with dimensionals, but I just want to be, again, before I stick them down, I'm gonna lay them down. I want to see how they're going to line up on my card, because I don't want anything. I don't want the top, the bottom, or the side to overhang. So that looks pretty good. All right, let's grab our dimensionals, which I just had, like right here. All right. We could probably do like, I don't know, 3 on these. I think that would be enough. I'm going to just go ahead and put all the dimensionals on, and then we can go ahead and put these on. So we're just going to put our dimensionals on. And everybody ready for the big holiday weekend? Have any special plans? Barbecuing, grilling? Oh, I got it's the same as barbecuing. Going to the beach? Let me know what you're doing. We are having family over for a barbecue. I was hoping we could go into the pool. We have a pool, but it's been a little cold lately. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't go in the water unless it's like high 70s to 80s. And right now it's high 60s, mid to high 60s. And that's a little too cold for me. But I think it's supposed to get warmer after this week. And we've had a lot of rain too. A lot of rain, which is good, but just we need it, just not all at once. But the farmer, we're next to a cornfield, and the farmer was out there this week getting the field ready for planting. So that's always fun to watch. There we go. All right, we've got that. Now for this one, we're going to add some of the strawberry slush pearls. Okay, I just had my pick tool. All right, let's add a big one there, and we'll add a little one up there too. Oops, that little one didn't want to get on the card. And then we'll put one more big one down here. And that is our second card. How pretty is that? I love these colors. Love those colors together. All right, our last card is going to be definitely a little bit more involved because we've got to do some die cutting. I've already done some. So I've already die cut our big oval, and I've already stamped and die cut some of the flowers because I didn't want to spend a whole lot of time. So I did like one set of the flowers. So our base is going to be Coastal Cabana, 8.5 by 5.5. I have our basic white, 5 1/4 by 4. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to put that in. Okay, put that in there. And then we're going to stamp. That's where we're going to have that beautiful happy birthday from the With You in Mind stamp set. I'm just going to go ahead and stamp on our big white oval. I'm going to stamp happy birthday. I love this card. I just love the colors in it. Okay. All right. There we go. Now this is going to go right on here. And because it's going to be flat, it's going to be flat because we're going to pop up all of our flowers. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that on there. All right, now let's stamp some flowers. All right, so I've got some white here. We're going to use peach pie for one of them. We're going to use fresh freesia for another one, and we're going to use this lemon lolly for the centers. So let me just move, and I used soft sea foam to die cut the leaves. I'm going to move those over there for now. We're going to use our fresh freesia. So the first thing I want to do is I want to stamp the large flower, and you'll see this one has like the lines in it. So we're going to stamp that in peach pie, and we're going to stamp that full strength. Okay. Then we're going to take the solid overlay, and we're going to stamp that, ink that up in peach pie. But we're going to stamp off because we want to use second generation stamping. Just want to make sure I get this lined up. Okay, that looks right. I'm just going to stamp it over our first one. So that is our first flower. And then we're going to take the big circle, and we're going to stamp, like they have one that's got like the dotted on it. We're going to stamp that full strength. Just trying to see where I can put it. And then we're going to come over here and we're going to stamp this one off, and we're just going to stamp that again. Okay, and that's just kind of fill in. And that is number one. Then we're going to come in with our, I'm going to close up our peach pie because we're done with that for now. All right. There. We have the second flower. Again, it's got the ones with the lines. Whoops, that's not where I wanted to stamp it. I wanted to go into our fresh freesia. I left the Coastal Cabana open. Why would I do that? I tend to make a mess when ink pads are left open. All right, we're going to do that. That was full strength. We're going to come in again with the overlay, the shadow or the overlay. We're going to stamp off, and then we're going to line it up, and we're going to stamp second generation right over those. All right, and we're going to come in here with the little one. We're going to stamp kind of the speckled one, full strength. And we're going to come in and we're going to stamp our solid one. We're going to stamp off, and then we're going to stamp over. All right, and we've got one more little flower to do. This is that little tiny one that we die cut. This is the matching one. Okay, I'm going to stamp again the lined image in full strength. I'm going to ink up the solid one or the shadowy one. I'm going to stamp off, and I'm going to flip this so I can make sure I get it where it should be. And we're going to stamp that. And then we're going to, again, come in with our lemon lolly. I'm going to use that speckled one full strength. And then we're going to use our solid one second generation. Okay, that is it. So we have all of our flowers stamped. Now we're going to go ahead and die cut them. We're just going to close up our ink pads because, you know, I make a mess. The less ink I have open, the better off I am. All right, let me bring this up just a tad. All right, bring it in our mini. I got our tray over here with my little. All right, now we're going to, let's see if we can get all three on. Let's see if we can do this. All right, so I'm going to do the small one first, kind of line those up. I think it goes this way. I think, yep. No. Is that the way? No, that's not the way. We'll find it. Sometimes you just got to play with it. There we go. That's lined up. I'm going to add a little bit of tape. Let's get our next one lined up. This one's a little bit easier because it's got this like triple flower. It's kind of easy to determine which way is up on this one. All right, and then put that up there. And then let me see if I can get this one on. I don't have to get the whole thing on. I just got to get most of it on. All right, that looks good. Just got a little piece of tape. There we go. And I like the 3M tape, the Post-it tape, because it doesn't really tear. Sometimes if you use washi tape, it can tear your paper, and this really doesn't. So I like it. All right, here we go. Let's go ahead and we can get this through. All right, there we go. Put that down. All right, there's one flower. There's our little flower. There's our big flower. Let me just put my dies back in the metal tray, in the metallic tray. Okay, good. All right, now we are ready to assemble our card. Okay. Now, this is just put these on however you like them. There's really no right or wrong way. I can't even pick this thing up. I will say because of where the sentiment is, I tend to put the shorter petals towards that way. That was just kind of my thing. It doesn't really matter. Let's see. Put that over there. Put a big one over here. And then put this one over here. Okay, so we've got our flowers. Now, some of them will be flat. This one's flat and this one's flat. So I'm just going to add some glue, some liquid glue. Just kind of glue those down. Okay. You want to create that dimension. So you want some flat and some raised up. Okay, now this is going to be on a dimensional. I can find them. I just had them. Keep losing stuff. All right, now I just want to see. I'm going to put it this way. So I want to make sure I want to put my dimensionals where it's going to, where it's not going to interfere. Okay, I've got my dimensionals on there. And these covers don't want to come off. These are the covers are very shiny. They're very slick. They're kind of hard to take off sometimes. Okay. Got that. I'm just going to put that there. Okay. And then these, I'm just going to kind of put up somewhere in there. All right. Dimensionals 1, 2, 3. And by leaving our sentiment flat, that makes it easier to put our dimensionals on our flowers because I don't have to worry about what's hanging on the raised up sentiment, what's hanging off the raised up sentiment. I know that all of these flowers just go on dimensionals. Okay, there we go. Let's see. There we go. This one just needs like one little dimensional because it's tiny. Just put one there, and we'll put that there. I've got some leaves here. I've cut about 3 leaves out of soft sea foam. And I am just going to randomly place these on the card. So there's really going to be no rhyme or reason to how I'm doing this. I'm just going to put a little glue on them. And then I'm just going to kind of stick them in. I'll put one there. Okay, maybe we'll put one, I don't know, up here. One there. And I don't know, let's see. Maybe we should put one here. Let's put one there. Okay. And then that will be card number 3. And that is it. Card number 3. So those are our 3 cards for tonight, featuring the Impressions Abloom set. I hope that you like these, and I hope that you'll give this set a try. I think it was very pretty. We can go very easy with just designer series paper we can kind of jazz it up a little bit with some fancy little cuts and adding a couple of die cuts, or you can stamp those flowers. And then we can go absolutely crazy with some two-step stamping and some die cuts. So that is it for me. Have a very great weekend, everybody. Enjoy your holiday. If you're not working on Monday, enjoy your nice long weekend. See you next week. Bye, everybody.